There's a bit of a change. How's it going, Neil? Good to see you. Obviously, it's not as if we haven't seen each other all day.
Exactly, Matt. Yeah, it's great to be back here. Precisely 130 days since the first round of 2020 in Qatar. So much has happened all across the world since then, obviously. And I have to say, there was probably some moments during that time when we thought we might not even be making it back to a track again this season. So it's with great pleasure to see the show back on the road. Obviously, there's a few restrictions in place, and we're all having to take a great deal of care in terms of hygiene. But seeing these guys, obviously all of these classes had some time out in track yesterday. It was great to see some on-track action again, and of course FP1 starting tomorrow. Yeah,
absolute packed day of action we had yesterday, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic it was. And of course, yeah, big test day. MotoE had a couple of test sessions out there. Finishing the day, it was actually the rookie Dominic Aegerter who actually finished on top, which is a bit of a surprise for most people. When we had the first test, right before the countries were basically locked down, they literally just got out of Jerez in time, didn't they, before Spain got locked down fully. It was actually Matteo Ferrari and Eric Granado who were the top guys in that first test, which isn't so much of a surprise. The World Cup winner from last year doing extremely well, and Eric Granado, who came so strong at the end of last season. And he's always fast from the get-go, wasn't he? Just struggled a bit with consistency. Not surprised to see him up there as well. But we can talk a little bit about that. We have got some new faces as well as returning ones as well. There is Maria Herrera on your screens. They're back for another crack at it with the Open Bank and Aspar team that we have there. She's got a new teammate this year as well, but we're trying to wait for it to see if we can get some more footage of the actual individual faces. As you can see, everybody wearing masks. They're unable to avoid social distancing, which when you're having a photo shoot sort of type situation, it is a little bit difficult. So everybody keeping safe with those masks on as well. Wear your masks at home, people. So, Neil, I've got to ask you then, MotoE this year, with myself and Amy, we're ready to record a preview for the actual weekend getting underway. But what are your thoughts coming into this? I know we got some technical changes, nothing too drastic. It's not as if they brought in a completely brand new bike and everything, but we've got developments on the forks and also a lot more torque at the rear wheel as well, and tyre developments too. What are you expecting for this year?
Yeah, I'm expecting a continuation of what we saw last year, Matt. I think the first running of the MotoE World Cup was a real success. We had 6 races in 2019. 5 of those resulted in final lap battles. We had a title fight that went all the way to the final lap of the final race, with just 11 points separating first and second. And we had 4 different race winners in that time, with 8 different men on the podium. So there was a great deal of variety, and we often saw really exciting racing to go with that as well. So I think this year in MotoE, we're going to see something quite similar, to be honest. We might have lost Bradley Smith, who was second in last year's series. He's now riding for Aprilia in MotoGP. We may have lost Hector Garzo, who was 4th in 2019. He's now riding in Moto2. But we still have 1st, 3rd, 5th, 6th and 7th from last year's championships, plus a host of new exciting names joining this championship. Yeah,
a whole load of new exciting names. If I grab my sheet towards me, who have we got? Dominic Aegerter. We have as a rookie Alessandro Zacconi, Jordi Torres, everyone will know that name and face, Lucas Tulovic, Xavi Cardelus, Alejandro Medina, and then who else? We got Jakob Kornfeld and Tommaso Marcon too. So plenty of rookies and lots of different varied levels of experience in different classes as well. You can see Jordi Torres right in the middle of the back row there, the popular former Moto2 veteran and also world superbike rider and race winner. What a character he was. I'm not sure if most of you at home were listening and paying attention to social media, getting your MotoGP fix, but you might have seen me do a couple of Instagram lives with a few of the riders here and there, getting some old stories, bit of life advice in, and we had Jordi on, and my goodness, not really spoken to him before all that much, but what a character he is, a superb guy. Had Dominic Aegerter on as well, and he was absolutely pumped and ready to go with this one. But what do you make of the rookies, Neil? Who are you looking out for the most?
Yeah, some of the names that you just mentioned there, Matt. I think Aegerter, after his performances yesterday, will certainly have to be one to watch. His fastest time of 1 minute 48.5 here at Jerez on Wednesday was just over 2 seconds off the quickest Moto3 time of the day. So that is really, really running. And I think Aegerter's performance is all the more impressive when you look at the guys that were 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. They were all experienced MotoE riders. So for a rookie to come in and jump straight to the top, I think Eggeder could take some beating this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we saw last year, Neil, so many times with these bikes and learning a completely new and different way of riding, actually some of the guys who are fast in FP1 or even pre-season testing, you might not find they're at the same level come the race weekend as well. I mean, I'm looking down the timesheets. Who was seriously fast last year? Who did we think was really going to run away with it? Nicky Tooley, of course, whose season came to an abrupt end at Misano with a horrific leg break. Nicky Tooley, well, he was only 10th yesterday, but I'm pretty sure he'll be holding his cards pretty close to his chest, won't he, at this stage?
Yeah, you would like to think so, for sure. Tooley has been doing some pretty impressive things in the European Moto2 Championship prior to this race weekend. And as you said, Matt, before that injury that he sustained at Misano last year, he was certainly looking like one of the picks for the championship. And it's good to see Nicky back on the grid here, looking fit, looking sharp. But if we're looking at the overall picture, I do think Matteo Ferrari will take some beating as the reigning champion, because he's been right there, consistent through testing, and you can see him there at the front of the shot, staying with the same team, nice and settled, knows the bike extremely well. And if Valencia last year taught us anything, it's that he's a real calm head on now older, maturer shoulders. That's
a really good point you make there. He might not have been fighting for the wins of Valencia, but he didn't need to at that stage, did he? He built up such a win with that double in Misano. Can absolutely understand why he just wanted to fill out the podium, as it were, back in Valencia there. Eric Granado, of course, taking the double win there versus Bradley Smith. We did just get a look at Matteo Ferrari's teammate. He's the only face which is not actually seen in the Grand Prix paddock before. Alessandro Zaccone. You might recognise him from, it's not him on the screen there, obviously. He was on a bit before. Zaccone, obviously, he's more of a famous face in the European Moto2 series and also the Italian Championship, the Civ series, that many of you might be following from home. Who we did just get a look at, though, was Alejandro Medina. We have seen that face before in the, it was the SAG team, wasn't it, when they had a flurry of different riders in that season that they had. He did a few races for them a couple of years ago now. There's the photographers all masked up if they're unable to avoid social distancing. And that is Mattia Casadei. Good to see him sporting I quite like that hairdo. I think that's pretty cool. Something different that you see. He was looking pretty quick as well, actually, in the some of the test sessions. But he filled out the day in 12th place overall in the test session yesterday. But Casadei got that podium in Misano. Could be a bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, Casadei did show some real good speed at his home race last year, with some more experience under his belt. You'd have to imagine that he'll be another guy that is maybe challenging for the occasional podium. Quite fancy the look of Nicolo Canepa as well, the guy that was just on our screen. He's sticking with LCR E-Team for another year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's their photo seemingly over and done with. Masks back on, gentlemen, please. Although we did like to see those pearly white smiles, I'm sure. But yeah, there's just so many people which you can really count on for, getting victories, podiums here and there, some top results. You really can't call it. And the best thing is we've only got 7 races this season over 5 rounds, which is actually it's not even a salvage job. It's as planned, apart from the dates are slightly changed from what we got, which is a bit of a miracle in these sorts of in these troubling times. But yeah, I really can't predict what's really going to happen this season at all. There's so many guys who just seem well up for it.
Exactly, Matt, yeah. And as was the case at a lot of the races last year, we will be having these MotoE races on a Sunday morning prior to the 3 Grand Prix, Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP. So, you'll have 4 races on Sundays now. Not at every single GP this year, but as Matt said, at a select number. So, MotoE World Cup 2020 certainly promises a great deal.
Bit of an earlier start for us then, isn't it? Well, as MotoE starts to wind down, 2 gentlemen you'll be very more than familiar with. Steve Day and Matt Burt about to hop back into the box to take over the coverage of the MotoGP shooting. So that'll be absolutely cracking stuff to see all those bikes lined up in all their glory. I tell you what, actually seeing the test yesterday and the bikes out on track, Neil, you forget, oh yeah, of course, all these new liveries. I thought, what on earth is that bike out there? Turned out it was the Pramac machines. So yes, another interesting dynamic. There is Nicky Tooley. We spoke about him earlier on. Good to see, of course, if you are wondering after what happened in Misano back in September, he is fighting fit and healthy. Hey, how about that? We got a pit lane reporter down there. Simon Crayfiles with Maria Herrera. Take it away, Simon.
Sorry guys, new overline. Are you there?
Yes, we're there. Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, fantastic.
Carry on.
So, Maria. So guys, did you hear what I was saying to Maria just now?
Yeah,
Really
we did.
Sorry. I'm glad I did this.
No problem. No problem.
So
you only just
Maria,
cut out briefly.
Okay, they can hear us. So what I want to know, it's so physical for everyone, what's it like for you out there? The MotoE bikes are not light, you know, it's really tough, and you're not a big muscly bloke, you know, and you're going really well. So tell us, how do you feel out there?
Yeah, the good thing in my town is too hot, so I train with a high temperature. It's good for example, flat track with a high temperature, and now I feel the hot, but no too much for me. But for sure, the bike is heavy. You have to train hard for this kind of bike. And the new chains, on the bike is different for about the last year, and I have to try to improve the setting for going faster, because 4 months without bike is too a long waiting for me. But well, the hot is for everybody, and I'm ready for that.
Maria, thank you for your time and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Simon. So, well, as you can see, MotoGP bikes on screen. I'm going to hand over to Steve Day and Matt Burt. Hopefully Steve remembers how to actually use all the commentary controls. Take it away, Steve.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, for a moment there, I didn't actually know what was going on and how to use the sound system, which is a good start. But hey, welcome back. If you didn't join us yesterday for After the Flag, then this will be the first time you've heard us for some while. I'm Steve Day, joined in the commentary box by Matt Burt. You've probably just heard Simon Crafar, and at last we get a first glimpse of the 2020 MotoGP grid. The bikes there of Aleix Espargaro and Miguel Oliveira waiting to come on. It has been 4 long months since these guys were out on circuit, but I have to say, based on yesterday's testing performances, it didn't feel like it. They were straight up to speed, especially the man riding this bike, number 12, the Monster Energy Yamaha of Maverick Vinales. But Matt, we'll probably repeat all of this again tomorrow when we go live with FP1, but it is fantastic to be back in it. I think after yesterday's test, because we've done so many After the Flags, it didn't quite feel like it's real, but now it does, because the photo shoot's about to start.
Yeah, long overdue. Great to be back. Great to be back in the commentary box with you, mate. 4 months without any MotoGP action. Can't wait for FP1 tomorrow morning. Andrea Dovizioso's factory Ducati comes to the grid for this very special photo shoot. A factory Ducati, which we don't know actually whether Andrea Dovizioso will be riding next year, of course. Perhaps more on that later. But of course, the bike that's been second in the World Championship in 2017, 2018, and 2019 comes alongside the bike they're all trying to beat, number 93, Marc Marquez. Looked in pretty good nick in that test yesterday as well.
It did, didn't it? Yes, Marc Marquez coming into this one as the man to beat still, Matt. I think last year we could safely say there was nobody better in the world. Nobody even came close to Marc Marquez. But the question is, can that change here over what we think at the moment is initially a 13-round championship? That could change, of course. A gruelling fixture, really, when you look at what's ahead. But he is still, without a shadow of a doubt, the bookies' favourite coming into this.
He's going to be a tough nut to crack. Yesterday, back on track for the first time in 4 months. Of course, before the lockdown, he was having problems technically with that new Honda, problems physically with a shoulder he first damaged here in Jerez in a crash at the final corner last November. Honestly, yesterday, both physically and technically, he said, grade A, perfect. Feels really, really strong. Marquez was third behind the 2 flying Yamahas. Of course, a lot of people, including myself, and I think my erstwhile colleague Mr. Day, think that that bike there, in the hands of both Alex Rins, number 42, and Joan Mir ahead of his second season in MotoGP, the Suzuki GSX-RR is going to have a massive part to play in this shortened 13-round championship. A lot of smart money is going on Suzuki to pull off a bit of a shock this season.
It really is, because it's just a weapon, isn't it? And it looks like they've fixed any of the very slight weaknesses that it already had. Alex Rins and Joan Mir are another year wiser. They were fast, weren't they, throughout that winter testing, and they just looked solid. And also, Matt, it seems like they are one of the teams that have really gelled well with this new Michelin that's come into play.
Yeah, and Yamaha, of course, that new Michelin tyre designed for a little bit more edge grip, which perfectly suits the Yamahas and the Suzukis, which thrive on corner speed. Threw a bit of a curveball, certainly, to the Hondas and Ducatis. Andrea Dovizioso himself saying yesterday, even though he's had, 3 or 4 test sessions on that new Michelin tyre, still not quite got his head around it, which is slightly worrying, particularly when you consider both Andrea and Ducati have got a shocking record here in Jerez. Not the place that they would have wanted the 2020 MotoGP World Championship to be kicking off, that's for sure. They've never had a win here since 06, Loris Capirossi, and Dovi's got a dreadful record here, appalling. He's never had a podium in the Premier Class, never had a front row as well.
No, of course, he comes into this recovering still from a collarbone break from a motocross accident. What was it, 3-4 weeks ago now? Here's another bike that's improved vastly, the Aprilia of Aleix Espargaro. And do you know what, Matt? If they can sort out and iron out a few reliability issues that they perhaps are a bit concerned about right now, there's nothing to suggest that Aleix Espargaro can't fight for a top 5 on a regular basis.
Couldn't agree more. I was just talking to our colleague Amy Dargenstein before you hosted the first pre-event press conference for MotoGP in 2020, and we were both saying this is probably the first time in my long career that you can come into a season, yes, albeit a very unique season, it's going to be a shortened season, whereby every single manufacturer has probably got a strong shout for the podium at some point this year. Never been able to say that before. You know, you can see KTM and Aprilia made massive strides in the winter. Certainly Aprilia, Yamaha and Suzuki looking great, Nick. Ducati looking like they're still playing a bit of catch-up. Honda in the hands of Marc Marquez is always going to be a potent weapon. So I think we've got 6 brands in with a cracking shout of cracking open a bit of bubbly this year.
Yeah, 6 brands, and we've got 22 very hungry riders that have got some absolutely wonderful records as well. Coming into this 2020 season, we've got 386 Grand Prix winners, basically. That's how many wins have been taken from the 22 riders. 29 world titles between them. The most peculiar scenario is, Matt, of course, because of what's happened with this virus over the last 4 months, we're in a situation where the majority of the grid actually know where they're going to be in 2021 before we've even turned a wheel.
Yes, we had that 4-month lockdown, and MotoGP was not resting because there's been a lot of deals done behind the scenes. Of course, we knew pre-season that Marc Marquez was staying with HRC, an unprecedented 4-year contract for Marquez. Maverick Vinales, of course, staying in the Monster Energy Yamaha factory team, joined by Fabio Quartararo. No great surprise there. One of the big movers, it was confirmed very recently. There's been a lot of hot gossip about that during lockdown. The owner of that number 44 plate, currently on a Red Bull KTM, well, he's on the move. Pol Espargaro moving to Repsol Honda next year, joining up with his career-long rival Marc Marquez. A bit of a reshuffling of the pack at Honda. Of course, that now means that Alex Marquez, without even turning a wheel in anger in a race for HRC, is out of Repsol Honda. He's going to be with LCR Honda. Cal Crutchlow's out as well. Cal Crutchlow sniffing around, seems like Aprilia. Some noises about Ducati as well. Where will Cal end up? It certainly looks like he will be on the MotoGP grid next year. Not really seriously entertaining a World Superbike switch. Alberto Puig, HRC team manager, did say they'd love Cal to go to World Superbikes. A seat for him guaranteed if he wanted it with Alvaro Bautista. But it looks like Cal feels like he's still got a bit to offer in MotoGP.
Yeah, we caught up with him, didn't we, briefly earlier. We should just point out, at a safe social distance. And yeah, he was kind of making noises as if to say there's enough here for me to play with to get myself a ride in the World Championship next year. Could it be on a Pramac Ducati?
Well, this bike, the owner of, is a man on the move in 2021 as well. Jack Miller, at 13 races left of his Pramac Ducati career, and next year he's got the dream chance. What a move for Jack Miller, following in the footsteps of Aussie legend Casey Stoner. He'll be an Australian in the factory Ducati team when we kick off 2021. Golden opportunity for Miller to really fulfill his ambitions of fighting for the World Championship.
That bike looks gorgeous, by the way, the new Pramac Ducati. I've got to say, that looks really nice, and the new number as well for Jack with the Australian flag with a number, that just looks hot. Really like that. Okay, now let's pop down to pit lane. Some of you might not have heard Simon's voice for a while. We're going to say a very good afternoon to Simon, probably baking down in pit lane at the moment. Si, how are you getting on? I believe you've got Wilco Zeelenberg with you.
I have, guys. Can you hear me here? I'm trying out some completely new equipment.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Brilliant. Yeah, hey, I'm not baking. I'm not going to complain at all because I've got some shade. Tomorrow I'm going to suffer. The suffering will start. But yes, I've got Wilco with me. And first of all, Wilco, I'd love a little bit of a summary coming into the second season, because first season went so well, and you've got the same riders, you've got some new machinery. How do you feel going into the weekend?
Well, yeah, I think it has been a very difficult path to come back here. Basically, the path we walked, was difficult. Basically, because of the corona, of course, we had to make many tests, and I think a big chapeau to the organization, because I think they have been working very, very hard to get this done. And basically, the whole pedal worked really well to be here, and also we are happy to be here. But of course, the atmosphere is strange. But we cannot wait to start. And as you said, we have Fabio on the factory bike, and the two same riders, and both are very fit. I can tell you that. So we are looking forward to tomorrow.
Just pull this 2-meter pole back to me, Wilco. Can you give us an idea where you think the new bike or the new machine is better, and like that Fabio has, but also on the other side of the garage, is there any advantages for Frankie riding the old bike?
Yeah, of course, these questions are also in the heads of everybody, because as soon as you jump on something new, and there are better aspects, but also, you don't have the experience from the old bike. And I think probably Frankie is on the experienced bike, and he can grab benefit from that. And but also, of course, we hope that the new bike, we can use this whole potentially, and especially here in Jerez, the bike always steers very well. The hot temperatures, I have to say, doesn't actually suit our situation, because if you want to turn fast with a bike, you need good grip. So let's wait and see for that one.
Wilco, thanks a lot for your time, and best of luck.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. Good to hear from you. Thanks to Wilco Zeelenberg as well. Do you know what? One thing I just found really fascinating now, because we mentioned it yesterday and after the flag about Fabio, the expectations have changed for this year as we get the first glance of the Reale Avintia colour scheme. Johan Zarco's bike there on the Ducati. That's quite nice, actually. I'm a fan of that. Quite interested to know how Fabio is going to approach the season. I was really fascinated. At the end of the press conference, they were asked for MotoGP Social to predict the top 5 for the World Championship. As ever, you expect riders with their egos to pick themselves. Most of them did. A couple didn't. Rossi and Pole didn't, which you can make of that what you will. Fabio picked Mark to win the World Championship. I found that a little strange.
Yeah, I mean, is it a bit
mind games, or
bit of mind games? Is it just the fact that he's just a really, really modest character and didn't feel comfortable picking himself?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, of course, tomorrow morning we should mention Fabio Quartararo's got a lie-in, because he's been penalised 20 minutes of the opening FP1 session to kick off 2020. Finally, he was caught in the lockdown at Paul Ricard, the great circuit, of course, in the south of France. Completely innocent mistake, of course. He went to a track day where he was found to be riding a tuned, modified, souped-up R1, which is against the regulations about the standard of equipment that you can ride when you're not on MotoGP bikes. A slap on the wrist by the FIA MotoGP stewards. Fabio felt he was completely innocent, which in most people's eyes he was, but of course rules are rules. He appealed. The appeal was thrown out. So tomorrow morning, don't worry when you tune in for FP1 and you don't see Fabio out on circuit. Nothing to worry about. He's just that he's got that 20-minute penalty to kick off the season.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. That said, these are the reasons they've brought in these punishments. 20 minutes off your session, you never know. It just gives you 20 minutes less to get dialed in.
Well, there are some of the bikes from every single team that I think are going to make up probably the most competitive MotoGP World Championship we've ever seen since its inauguration back in 1949. Red Bull, KTM there on the left. Miguel Oliveira, of course, he's moving to the factory team next year, all the way across to Johan Zarco, the Flying Frenchman, and that's the bike in the middle of your picture that everybody wants to beat. Pol Espargaro's on that bike next year. Marc Marquez, as Steve mentioned, untouchable last year, a record 420 points. The only race he didn't finish on the podium was when he made that mistake while leading comfortably in Austin, Texas. Without any shadow of a doubt, the 93 is your man to beat.
Yeah, he's already made his feelings quite clear on the whole situation with Pole coming in. A little sweet comment, always playing head games, isn't he, Marc Marquez? In the press conference earlier, he said, I'm quite comfortable with Alex Marquez, my brother, moving to LCR next year, because when you ride for Repsol Honda, you've got to be on the podium. So no pressure,
Yeah,
Paul.
and he said if you're not on the podium, it's a disaster. I thought that was quite an early rabbit punch, to be honest.
Well, he's not short of them, is he?
I was watching Paul's face there, and he just sort of was quite stony face. He didn't really react. We can pop back down to Simon Crafar for his thoughts with Red Bull KTM Tech 3 team boss Hervé Poncharal. Simon, back to you.
Yes, I've got Hervé with me. I hope he can hear me. There's a bike running in the background. Hervé, really curious to hear from you what your thoughts are going into this season, especially both rider-wise, but also the machine. It sounds like the new KTM is pretty, a lot better than 12 months ago when, the start of last season.
Yeah, of course, like everyone here, we're all excited to be finally back, to be finally, start the championship, start racing here. We all know it's a bit of a strange feeling to be so far from you, doing an interview, to wear the mask, to have the paddock almost empty, but I mean, we know why, and that doesn't affect the excitement and the feeling of, being happy and being ready. As a team, I think we are a lot readier than we were last year. Clearly, we could see that the bike has improved a lot through the winter. The good thing also is right now the 4 KTMs are exactly same spec. All the 4 riders will have the same development. For sure, that will help the development to speed up. We could see yesterday that Miguel ended up the morning session in 8th position, overall day in 11th position. It was a bit more difficult in the afternoon because of the temperature, but we feel good. We feel good. We feel more ready than last year, as I said. We feel closer to the top guys. I think the 6 factories are really close to each other. We are also very happy to see Miguel fully fit, because since last year, Silverstone, he was half of Miguel we were having. And we're also very happy to see Iker finally, as a proper MotoGP rider. And it's very impressive to see the difference of data, the difference of riding style he's having now compared to November Jerez when we were testing here. So we're happy. We know that the grid is very competitive. We are, of course, not aiming to win here. People will think I've been drinking or I'm pretentious. But I think we can have a great round 1. Hopefully round 2 will be even better for us. We are under, a lot of development, a lot of things are happening inside KTM, and I'm glad. I'm glad to be here. I think we will suffer, especially the riders, the tires, the bike, but I'm pretty sure the show is going to be incredible and maybe better than ever.
Hervé, thank you.
Thanks as ever to Hervé Poncharal. Always great to hear Hervé, that you really know a championship starting when you hear from the Frenchman. I'll tell you something else as well. One of the nicest guys in the paddock is Hervé Poncharal. I'm sure you'll agree, Matt, after all the time you've known him. But then another nice guy joining him next year. I mean, Hervé Poncharal and Danilo Petrucci, that sounds like 2 blokes I'd really like to be in a bar with.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd like to hang out in a pub, won't you? Have a couple of beers with those 2. Yeah, Danilo Petrucci, surplus to requirements at the factory Ducati team after that famous win in Mugello last year. But of course, he will be on the MotoGP grid next year. He toyed a little bit. Ducati offered him a place in World Superbikes next year. Looks like that was going to be alongside Scott Redding. Of course, those 2 locked horns together at Pramac Ducati a few years ago. But he decided to seek pastures new, and of course, with Pol Espargaro leaving KTM, well, KTM pounced. Petrucci and his manager Alberto Vigani went quickly to Mattinghofen in Austria, got the deal done. So Petrucci, I think a lot of people were surprised, Steve, that Petrucci was not in the factory team, that the fact that he was going to Tech 3, but that shows to me exactly what Hervé was just talking about. There's almost not a factory team now at KTM. Petrucci was perfectly happy to go to the so-called independent team because he's been given cast iron assurances that technically wise, his bike will be exactly like Brad Binder and Miguel Oliveira's, and as I understand it, they're not going to base the delivery of upgrades or new parts on team status, it's going to be on championship position. So plenty of motivation there for Petrucci. One, to prove Ducati wrong, because they've shown him the door after just one season, and two, you know, he could really establish himself as the lead rider in a emerging upcoming factory.
Well, I think, you know, losing Pol Espargaro was a massive blow to KTM. There's no way around that. I mean, that's just a simple fact. He is a little bulldog, but they've got another one in their ranks, of course, in Brad Binder. Once he gets cracking with that KTM, he's every bit as aggressive as Pol Espargaro. I think he'll get the best out of it. You've got the methodical thinking, very quick Miguel Oliveira, the experience now of Danilo Petrucci with everything that he has learned and gained from Ducati, and then of course you've got the young whippersnapper, really, haven't you, Iker Lecuona, who is only 52 Grand Prix into his career. So it is a fresh team with a little sprinkling of experience as well. So I don't think they've done bad out of it.
Very nice blend of experience and youthful talent coming through. There's nothing that Miguel Oliveira and Brad Binder don't know about each other. They know each other better in the backs of their own hands. They've been together with KTM in Moto3, in Moto2, and that's a good dynamic there because they've always pushed each other. They've always found themselves to be on the same level. As my mobile phone decides to, first high side of the season, launch itself across the commentary box. But yeah, you know me, Steve, hands up here in the commentary box. I'm a fully paid up member of the Brad Binder fan club. Yesterday, never rid a MotoGP bike in Jerez. Scorching hot, difficult, taxing conditions. 4 months off the bike, and he came in at one point. Yes, he did drop down the rankings, but he was 6th at one stage. If you're in the top 6 in any circumstance in any MotoGP session, you've got something about you. Can't wait to see as his experience grows. South Africa's got a massive star on their hands.
Well, I mean, that's the key thing once the experience grows, because the thing is, Matt, this calendar is so brutal. The races are coming thick and fast. We've got 5 races in the next 6 weeks. One thing he's got to do, and I'm sure he will do, because the KTM will keep him grounded, and he's that way in his mind, is he needs to keep it up right early on and not try and break any records, because 28 laps around Jerez when you've been off a bike for 4 months is going to hurt.
It's going to be survival of the fittest here on Sunday, mentally and physically.
And he's never been in a race on a MotoGP bike. I mean, that's a whole different ballgame.
Scorched hillsides around this famous circuit in Jerez, of course. We normally come here in early May when temperatures can be pretty hot. Right now, though, in mid-July, it's been absolutely blazing sunshine. Not a single cloud in the sky since we hopped off the plane on Tuesday morning. Temperatures, ambient temperatures, nudging quite close to 40 degrees. Track temperatures, Wilco Zeelenberg and Hervé Poncharal touched upon. Michelin having to contend with track temperatures you normally see in the sort of Southeast Asian tropical climates, Buriram and Sepang. It's going to be brutal for the teams and the riders on Sunday. We think it's going to actually get hotter, and we've been walking around the paddock a couple of times, Steve, just to get our lunch. Of course, there's some pretty heavy restrictions on movement around the paddock with the new health and safety protocol, but just walking 100 yards, you're gasping for a gulp of water. Compared to May here now, we're experiencing temperatures at, I would say on average 10 to 15 degrees hotter. You forget, don't you, really? We're deep in the south of Spain. As the crow flies, we're probably not more than 150 miles away from North Africa. So at this time of year, it is hot.
Yeah, it is really hot. I mean, these guys are going to go through the mill here this weekend. On Sunday, as we said, temperatures, maybe track temperatures of over 60 degrees. It's going to be a proper test for everybody out there. But it's the same for everyone. That's what we must just point out. Of course, we're here in Jerez for 2 weeks, then 1 weekend off where we'll travel back home and we'll all be tested again before our arrival back into Brno, and then 2 Austrias as well. Just, I am so fascinated about the dynamics of how this World Championship goes as opposed to a normal World Championship in inverted commas, because no one actually knows how many rounds the World Championship is at this moment in time, Matt. I mean, let's just keep, I'm touching wood here, fingers crossed we don't have anything that prevents us from completing the full 13 rounds. Although, let's just be quite straight here, this virus is not gone yet.
Tito Rabat.
But, you know, you're going to have to fly from the off, but at the same time, try not to get injured. It's a fine balancing act. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Right, the riders are about to make their way onto the grid, and Simon is down in pit lane, has picked one off already. Tito Rabat, ahead of his 2 home Grand Prix, is down in pit lane with Simon. Hello, Simon, are you there? We've just lost Simon for the time being. He just let us know that he was with Tito Rabat, but I can't hear him at the moment. But hopefully we'll have the former Moto2 world champion out very soon. Of course, he was spending a lot of his lockdown testing as he loves to do. He just loves getting on a motorbike. He was doing a bit of the esports as well. Quite the character, actually.
He really did make me crack up so many times on those virtual GP races. I mean, one of his best lines, I think, ever was when he was asking some of his other MotoGP riders, guys, do you ever get arm pump on a MotoGP bike? And they were like, yeah, of course. And he was like, well, I've never ever had arm pump riding a MotoGP bike, but I'm getting chronic arm pump operating a PlayStation 4. Absolutely brilliant. That is the new look MotoGP arena. Marc Marquez, the world champion then, with his face mask on, which is all part of a very, very strict and detailed 61-page health and safety protocol before we came here. That's how you'll see so many of the riders this year.
He's got a great record here at Jerez. Since he entered the Premier class in 2013, he's never been off the podium. And he's won, of course, here the last 2 seasons. He will be looking to try and deliver a blow to his rivals from the very first round here. And here is his new teammate for next season. Should just point out they were once teammates, actually, Pol Espargaro and Marc Marquez, back in the Spanish Championship days.
Aleix Espargaro there with a very bespoke face mask. He likes the old bright colours and the funny patterns, doesn't he, Aleix Espargaro? Of course, we've seen a lot of him in the lockdown. He's a very big fan of social media, keeping us up to date with his passion for cycling. We saw Cal Crutchlow in the press room earlier on, and he said that he'd done, this is remarkable, yes, we're not making these numbers up, since January to now, 17,000 kilometres Cal Crutchlow has pedalled.
Yeah, here he is, and he is the only rider, from what we can gather anyway, having done research in the paddock, the only rider in the 4 months that has not been on a motorcycle, which is astonishing. And he said to us earlier on that he felt okay going through turns 1, 2 and 3, but then he opened up out of turn 4 and he felt dizzy because of the speed. Simon, we can hear you again now.
Ah, I see. It's working now. Well, that's really bad timing because we just lost Tito to another channel. I'm trying to fix mine. So, guys, as soon as we can have Tito back, I'll call out to you.
Yeah, sure, Simon, no problem. Loads of riders wandering around, so anyone you can grab, mate, that will be fine.
I just love that shot there of Cal as well, because every other rider's kind of got their own sort of tailor-made, bespoke, smart-looking face mask, and Cal's just got your normal PPE, don't care about anything bespoke. I'll just wear something that looks like I'm just about to go and do open heart surgery.
Yeah, he is the proper character, isn't he, Cal Crutchlow?
No messing.
No messing at all. Here is Valentino Rossi then, 41 years young now, and it's looking like he'll be riding on into 2021 as well. He said yesterday he was 99% sure, and it sounded like it's all but done when he was in the press conference as well. But before we continue talking about the doctor, let's pop back to pit lane. The reigning Moto2 world champion is with Simon. Alex Marquez, the Repsol Honda rider.
Alex, really curious how you feel going into your first MotoGP race weekend.
Well, for sure excited. I'm really excited to start, to be here with all the MotoGP guys. Was a dream when I was a kid, so yeah, looking forward to start the weekend, looking forward to enjoying the bike. This is the main target for me, and to feel comfortable on the bike. I knew that, well, I know that for sure for a rookie will be a difficult weekend with this hot condition and all this, but I will try to improve every lap, every session, and try to be as much as I can fast.
Alex, you mentioned yesterday that there could be some advantages, with the extra track time at the same place, having a second race here at Jerez again. Can you tell us why you think that?
Well, will be in the end advantage for everybody, In the end, it's the same time for everybody on track. For sure, all the riders that have more experience have more advantage, this for sure. But for the rookies also, we have that advantage. So it's positive for everybody, and will be interesting to see how the riders and how the bikes can improve 1 week to the other one.
Alex, just wanted to wish you the best of luck in your first race.
Thank you.
Thanks to Alex Marquez, thanks Simon. Here you can see on screen the boss, Carmelo Espeleta, with Andrea Dovizioso on the left and Maverick Vinales on the right. We have to take our hats off to Carmelo. Matt, what he has done and been through, the stresses he must have been through during lockdown to try and get this show back on the road, and all of the safety measures that have had to be put in place. You just have to say the man is truly remarkable.
Mate, we're lucky enough to be working in this great sport, working with the promoter Dorna very, very closely, and we know the 24/7 round-the-clock work that has gone in to putting together this World Championship. Of course, Dorna, in association with IRTA, the International Racing Association, and the FIM, all three bodies involved in this great sport that we all love, have worked tirelessly since March the 4th when we were in Qatar to make sure that despite this horrendous coronavirus outbreak, we are going to get some racing this year. So yeah, all I can do is tip my hat and echo your own words, mate, because they've done a phenomenal job.
Well, here are the riders then. Some of these guys won't have spoken for some time. Actually, they won't have seen each other because yesterday's test, they're all confined to their garages and out on circuit. There is Fabio Quartararo then, the Rookie of the Year in 2019 at the end of last season. Spectacular form. Can he challenge Marc Marquez? We saw some brilliant battles, didn't we, at the end of last year? What about this man, Matt? What can we expect? What is going to go on with Andrea Dovizioso? I mean, there's all these rumours about sabbatical. I cannot for the life of me believe a Ducati rider age 34 is going to go for a year out.
First job for Andrea is to get himself a better fitting face.
Yeah, that's not so good, is it? That's a bit loose.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Andrea's had his pre-season problems. Back in the initial pre-season, he really was struggling to get that Ducati working on that new Michelin rear tyre. And of course, most recently, just 3 weeks ago, racing in a motocross event in Italy, you can sort of question that decision from Andrea and Ducati. He did, of course, break his left collarbone. He says that's not a problem. It feels right as rain. The issue, it sounded pretty uncomfortable yesterday in these scorching hot conditions. The riders, of course, dripping, pouring with sweat every time they come back in. He said his leathers are just rubbing on the cut, the incision mark that they made, the scar, when they put the plate inside his shoulder. It sounded pretty uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds pretty nasty, doesn't it? There's Joan Mir. Look out for Joan Mir for this 2020 season. If you look at the bookies' odds, he's quite far down. I think a dark horse indeed, Joan Mir. He was going along very nicely until that big injury he picked up at the Czech Republic last year. I think it's well worth keeping an eye on him as he starts to develop and get quicker. Here's two Frenchmen catching up.
Yeah, Fabio Quartararo there, just having a little chat with compatriot Johann Zarco. It's going to be interesting in around mid-October when we go to Le Mans, to the Bugatti circuit. It can be wet and wild in Le Mans in May at the best of times, so quite what we're going to anticipate when we get down to France in mid-October, although we are just grateful to have the opportunity to go to the legendary historic Bugatti circuit. Alex Rins and Alicia Spargo having a good catch-up, of course, great mates in Andorra. A lot of people think that Alex Rins has got all the tools, the Suzuki looking the best it's done for a long, long time, to really push Marquez, Quartararo and Vinales for the title this year. The same names cropped up, didn't they, Steve, in the pre-event press conference, the little social media event at the end. The guys that were in that press conference named the top 5 in the championship, and it was mostly Marquez, Rins, Vinales, Quartararo and Dovi. There was a recurring theme, wasn't there? There was no sort of like real surprises, shall we say.
No, you'd be hard pushed to argue with any of that, wouldn't you? There's a little shot for the Italian fans back at home. Franco Morbidelli on the far left next to Danilo Petrucci, Valentino Rossi, Pecco Bagnaia and Andrea Dovizioso as well. Looks like Franco Morbidelli's been growing the locks over the lockdown.
Yeah, we've had the Italian pack in MotoGP this year, and there of course are the 3 from the VR46 Academy. Franco Morbidelli, he is absolutely relishing the prospect of being joined by the boss in Petronas Yamaha SRT next year. He said it'll be absolutely fantastic to have Valentino Rossi as a teammate, almost like a boyhood dream. Will it be for the next 2 years? Remarkably, Morbidelli earlier on this week confirmed he is with Petronas Yamaha SRT for 2021 and 2022. The interesting news from Rossi yesterday for me was the fact that he said, yeah, we're all but done and dusted for 2021, but there is definitely going to be an option in that contract for him to race in 2022, and he said he'll make that decision. It's so hard, of course, with COVID-19 dominating the world, to make predictions for the future, but he said in an ideal world he'll decide on 2022 in next year's summer break. So there is no mention of 2021 being his last year at all.
No, and do you know what? the people I'm most happy for are the fans. Wherever we go around the world, there is a sea of yellow Valentino Rossi fans. And of course, we are racing without fans behind closed doors at this moment in time. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if we can move forward in trying to tackle this virus, we'll be able to see fans again, maybe even as early as late this year, or hopefully certainly next year. The fans are going to get to see the Doctor racing on for a little while longer. But what's really interesting for me, Matt, is in the pre-event press conference, he didn't even put his own name in the top 5. He is well aware that podiums are not going to be easy to come by, but he just loves racing. That's all he's here for now. It's not about, okay, I'm here because I can still get my 10th World Championship.
Yeah, he's here just for the fun of it, isn't he? And if he can win a couple of races, age ever close to Giacomo Agostini's record, then absolutely brilliant. Well, we talked a little bit about Jack Miller and Pramac Ducati. We've just seen Pecco Bagnaia on screen there. I'm delighted to say Simon Crafars grabbed Francesco Guidotti, team boss of the Pramac Ducati, for his thoughts ahead of this shortened 2020 campaign. Simon, back to you.
So I do have Francesco with me. Francesco, you're another team manager that has the same riders and the same machines, but the machines have improved a little. I want to know the differences you feel or you see going into this season compared to last.
On a sporting side, there's a lot of differences because Pecco has 1 year experience. And he upgraded on a technical side with the bike, so he has the current Ducati Desmo 16, no more the old one model. So we expect from him a big step ahead. And with the experience he had last year, I think he is able to approach this season, this tricky season, in a good way. I mean, in the proper way. 1 year sounds. Not a lot of time, but it's almost 20 races, and I think he get the skill and he can perform much better than last year. Of course, the bike will help you a lot because 2 steps ahead will be 2 steps ahead respect of compare what you used last year. Jack had a fantastic second half of the season last year. And we hope, and I think he is able to continue on this performance. He also signed a contract for next year, going to the factory team. So this, I think, will give him the right motivation to make the last step.
Francesco, thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Simon Crafars. Thanks, as always, to Francesco Guidotti. Always interesting to hear the Italians' thoughts. Yeah, they've done their job, haven't they? It's the independent team that's supposed to draft in young talent and groom them, get ready for a factory berth at Ducati. So they've done perfectly over the last 2 times, haven't they? Petrucci was in Pramac and then moved up to the factory Ducati seat, and Jack Miller will do the same as well.
Don't forget, guys, at home, there's a fantasy league for MotoGP at the moment. Get involved. Me and Matt have already picked ours. You get to pick a constructor and 4 riders. You get to bring in transfers as the season goes on. We've got a bit of an in-house league going on here at Dorna Towers. But me and Matt have already got our teams booked. Matt's gone for a brilliant team name. I've gone for a sort of slightly more British-based name. Strepsil Honda, I believe, is what Matt's gone. There are some. I can't even mention some of the other team names in there because they're not really fit for air purposes. But MotoGP Fantasy, get involved before Saturday qualifying because that's your best chance of winning some brilliant prizes.
Yeah, I've got nothing to hide, and I'm usually an absolutely terrible predictor. But so here's my team. I've gone for Quartararo, Viñales, Yamaha as my manufacturer, and perfect timing. I've gone for both Suzuki men. I went for that man, Joan Mir and Alex Rins. Don't let me down, guys.
Yeah, we're not far away on that. I mean, most people will be thinking, how have you not gone for Marc Marquez? Well, quite simply, he was too expensive. And I wanted to protect my money because there's a budget in the MotoGP Fantasy. So I've gone almost identical team to my colleague here next to me in the commentary box. The only difference being I've gone for Jack Miller over Joan Mir. So
sadly, the fans can't be with us in person at these events at the moment, but another great way to get involved in this year's championship.
Yeah. Let's now catch up. In fact, we were just talking about Suzuki's. This could be a very special season indeed for the Team Suzuki X-Star squad. Let's now catch up with Davide Brivio, who's down in pit lane with Simon.
Davide, I'm catching up with all the team managers that have the same riders, and I want to know also from you, same machines, same riders, but I want to know what your opinion is on how much each has improved, machinery and riders.
Yeah, we have same rider and different kind of a different bike. No, I mean through the winter we worked quite well, I would say, and as you know, compared to the last year bike, we have a new chassis, an Evolution chassis. We have improved the engine, and so which is the most important parts of the bike. Then of course we went to adjust and try to improve small things, and but also the riders. The riders, I have to say, they improve. First of all, Alex has been working very hard through the winter, and also he used quite well the lockdown to stay fit, and I felt him coming here very positive, relaxed, happy, in a good mood. So this is important, and I think also analyzing the last year, we found something that could have been better. Like the last part of the season, we were not consistent in a result, and as everybody knows, maybe in a qualifying, we were not sometimes brilliant. So we try to work on all these things. We will see. We will see what we fix, if we fix something or not. So, but yeah, I expect some improvement on the weak areas we had last year, and let's see how much. And of course, Joan Mir as well is in his second year. He's no longer a rookie. And of course, after 1 year experience during the winter, you think about and you go through all the season trying to improve. So, we can see in a winter that he made a step forward, and he has clearly improved. So now we have to see how he can use this first year experience in his second season. And so overall, I would say, on the paper, before we start, it looks like everything has improved. I don't know how much, I don't know if it's enough, and we will see if we improve in the right way.
Something I heard yesterday is that Joan Mir did that last session with the hard rear tyre, which is not really good for a time, obviously, and he ended up the session well towards the front. Do you think that, from my point of view, it bodes well for the weekend? Do you feel the same, or?
Yeah, no, okay. Yesterday was a test. We tried to find out, let's say, the different tyre. He used the soft tyre before, and he made a good lap time. And then it was an opportunity to collect information. Of course, we have to continue this job tomorrow. This weekend we have an advantage because already I've been practicing for 3 hours. You already did some job. But okay, tomorrow we still have to go through the tires because especially on the front, we need to check and to understand which is the option. On the rear we have some idea, but we are facing Jerez in a very difficult, different situation because we never came here with such a hot conditions. It will be hard for the physical condition of the rider, but also for the tires, for everything. So we have to go through, and will be important the session we will have in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, the race time. And so yeah, we continue the job. Of course, we collected some information. We try to finish, but we feel we're ready and very interesting and very curious to see where we are.
Just before I let you go, it may seem obvious, but it feels like Suzuki's their best ever potential, best chance to do something with their best ever season. Does it feel like that to you from the inside?
Yeah, I'm quite pleased because it looks, again, before the start, but it looks like our project that we created a few years ago is coming through, because we wanted to try to build a team with 2 riders able to stay in the top group and fighting for the podium, for the top positions. And even more challenging, we wanted to build up our own riders, So we took Alex Rins as a rookie from Moto2, we took Joan Mir as a rookie from Moto2, and the ambition, the dream, is to get them within the top riders. Means fighting maybe within the group of 5, 6, 7 riders, fighting for the top position. So sometimes you get in a podium, sometimes you finish 7, sometimes you win, so whatever. But to be in the battle. So to come to the race on Friday morning, start practice and say, okay, let's see if we can do or not, And so I'm quite pleased because it's all looks like going well. this process, and we will see. But yeah, I think the potential is good because both riders, they're very talented. We can say they are within top riders group. I don't know how big is this group, but we are there, and we want to stay there.
Davide, thank you for your time, and best of luck achieving your mission.
Thanks very much to you, Simon Crafar there, asking the questions to the team boss at Suzuki, Davide Brivio. Right, the riders have been on the grid, 22 of them, Matt, suited and booted, and we're ready to rock.
Your class of 2020 finally ready to rock and roll. We've waited a long time. I don't think those guys are going to disappoint this year. I think it's going to be 13 breathless and breathtaking races coming your way. Valentino Rossi, the old warhorse, walks off. He's about to start his 25th season in the World Championship. The KTM bound Danilo Petrucci took a nasty whack yesterday, did Petrux at turn 11, a very fast crash on some oil dropped by Aleix Spargaro Aprilia. And there have been the two main men in the championship over the last 3 years, Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez. Will Maverick Vinales and Fabio Quartararo get their names in the title hunt? Will Alex Rins and Joan Mir also have a big part to play? Thankfully, the answer coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, you saw Marc Marquez there with the banner at the front, racing for them, hashtag racing for them, hashtag racing together in honour of those affected by COVID-19, and we echo those sentiments here to all of you. Hopefully motorcycle racing being back on your TV screens is going to bring a smile back to your face in what has been a very, very dark time. And I'll tell you something else as well, if you love your bike racing, you're in for a treat because it is non-stop. We've got 2 races in Jerez in the next 2 weeks. World Superbike are then here in Jerez, the weekend off for us, and then we're back in Brno in Austria, so it's just non-stop action.
Yeah, make sure you book a place on the sofa for the rest of the season. It's going to be different, it's going to be unique, but I think we're going to have some absolutely fantastic racing. I think it's going to be the closest World Championship we've ever had. The talent pool is so deep. 6 manufacturers have rolled out very, very competitive motorcycles. I think I'm not going to get much sleep tonight. I'm going to be like a kid on Christmas morning tomorrow.
Here they are then, the 22 riders lining up. The grid for 2020 getting ready now. We've got just about a minute left on air, Simon, and I know that you've got Jack Miller with you. I don't know if you could get him to just say a few words by all means, but we're going to have to cut off pretty quickly. We've got a minute left on air, but over to you.
Okay, we've got 1 minute, Jack, and I really want to hear how crazy is that heat out there? What's it like to ride in?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I mean, even the pitches are hard work in this weather, but no, it is pretty brutal. But, you know, we're here, we're ready to race. I think everyone's, put in the work, so should be a good weekend. Can't wait to get out there and rub elbows with the boys.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, thanks to Jack, thanks to Simon, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. That's it for now. It's going to be race time tomorrow. Free Practice 1, Free Practice Friday is back. Moto 3 will be first out in action tomorrow in FP1. Then we will bring you the first MotoGP session of the season. MotoGP is back. We'll see you tomorrow.